Let's talk about doing harm through marketing or triggering others through our content. I think for so many of us, we've held so many things back because we're terrified of what people are going to say. What are people going to think about us? How are people going to perceive us? Covering up our true authentic selves with a mask on social media in order to be looked at in a certain way. In this episode, I am going to break down how to say fuck professionalism and fuck showing up in a specific, certain, calculated, manicured way on social media and what to do instead. How showing up in integrity and being more human, as well as viewing marketing, creating content in a different way is actually going to help you build the trust of your community. Let's dive in.
I'm your host, Tiffany Chung, your go-to for all things marketing, mindset, and manifestation. I grew my online business from 0 to beyond 6 figures in 8 months. My purpose is to empower women to step into the highest, most aligned versions of themselves. If you are ready to take charge of your life, learn how to design a wildly successful business, and leave limiting beliefs behind, you've come to the right place. You will learn the actionable tips and step-by-step strategies on money, manifestation, and social media. It's time to step into your role as boss, to raise your vibration and tap into your unlimited potential today. Welcome to the Social Reset Podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to the Social Reset Podcast. In this episode today, we are going to be talking about something that I feel like isn't talked about enough, and which is why I'm bringing it to life in this podcast and why I'm bringing it to light, because I think that there is so much power in talking about doing harm through marketing as well as offending others through marketing or ruffling feathers through marketing. I'm sure you're kind of starting to pick up what I'm putting down. When we are marketing to others, whether that is selling our course, sharing a specific value, sharing a story, sharing our lives, or simply just existing in some way, shape, or form, it is not possible to please every single person. And it isn't possible to please every single person in your audience. So many of us, especially women, because we're raised and taught and societally conditioned to be nurturing, to be loving, to want to be liked by everybody, to be aesthetically pleasing, visually pleasing towards men, to act a certain way, to look a certain way, to speak a certain way, to show up online in a certain way. And I see so many women getting so terrified of being quote unquote canceled, or so many women are afraid and so terrified of offending others in their audience. They either don't want to be, perceived as this type of person or that type of person. They want to focus on, the cliches. They want to focus on showing up a certain way, putting a mask on when they're creating content so that their audience continues to view them and portray them as a specific type of person, whoever that it is that they might want to be, right? It's so intimidating, I think, creating content sometimes in today's day and age because you are terrified of offending somebody or you're terrified of being yourself. And I think a lot of it comes down to fear and feeling like you're not in alignment with who you truly are. And I think also because social media has been approached at so many different angles, a lot of it looking like and sounding like you have to show up in this certain criteria, especially as a woman or a professional woman or a woman coming from corporate, that you have to create content in this type of language. You have to use this type of voice. These are the words to avoid. These are the phrases to avoid. This is the clothing to avoid. These are the styles of photos and poses to avoid. That it just gets exhausting. To be honest, it just gets exhausting. There are all these rules, and I talk a lot about what I like to call rogue fuck the rules marketing, for lack of a better phrase. And it's so real, and I mean it. When I say don't worry about the rules, I want to remind you that every single rule out there was created by somebody that felt like they needed to fit themselves into a box in order to get X result accomplished, in order to be liked, in order to be socially acceptable, in order to be understood, right? But they're also not you. And I was having a conversation with a client earlier this week, and she was reminding me, and we were having this conversation about how if a road has already been paved, somebody else has already walked that road, right? Forge your own path. Forge your own way of doing things, your own way of viewing the world, your own way of approaching marketing and business, because guess what? That is the supposed way. The supposed way isn't some entrepreneur that made 7 figures in her first year or 2 years of business and is teaching this one-size-fits-all strategy that you feel like you now need to bend over backwards and kill yourself trying to replicate. Because guess what? Even if you replicated her every single move, it still wouldn't turn out that way, because she has her own secret sauce and you're meant to find yours. You're meant to find yours, which is why I have completely eliminated using the word niche or niche down inside my programs, my services, my coaching at all, period. It is something that I no longer subscribe to. It is something that I no longer believe in. And because one of my brand values is transparency and humanness, I'm telling you this very upfront, that there was a day where I believed that niching down was a necessity in order for me to be successful. That day no longer exists. I do not believe in that any longer. And the reason is that niching just feels so limiting. It does. It feels so restrictive. It feels like I've got to find this one thing. And then not only do I have to find this one thing, I've got to make it super small and super narrow and super, super specific that nobody else in the world does what I do. And then I've got to make it, something that sounds good. And then I've got to come up with a niche statement on top of it. And I got to figure out all these things in order to find what makes me me and attract the right people. What if you just showed up and talked about what you loved and you just started there? You started as a human being. You gave yourself permission to embrace your humanity. You gave yourself permission to just be you. What would you do? Who would you be? What mask would you take off? Who do you want to serve the most? What does that community need to hear from you? What if that's all marketing was? What if that's all quote unquote niching was, right? If we're able to approach it in a way where we can make it simple and we can make it freeing and expansive and juicy and delicious and fun, we need fun in our businesses. I'm so tired of seeing strategy and analytics and step-by-step this and follow my 3-step method on that. It's too much, right? It's an overload. It's an overwhelm. And quite frankly, it's exhausting. It's exhausting because we've seen it so many times. And that's why in the academy that I'm building, which is launching in August, the waitlist link in my bio, by the way, I'm creating this academy because I want it to be a choose your own adventure type of vibe. I want it to be, hey, this applies to me, this applies to me. This is the type of energy type I am in human design. This is the way I manifest. Okay, perfect. What do I do if I have all of these things put together? What options do I have? And giving you the ability to personalize that, giving you the ability to take the reins and say, I'm going to try this. And then giving you the safe space and the accountability and the community to say, I tried this, it didn't work. I tried this and I didn't like it, right? We need to be okay with making mistakes. We need to be okay and be able to, at the end of our day, say, I had my own back. Yeah, it didn't work. Yeah, I didn't have the result that I wanted, but it's okay. I'm giving myself permission to be human, and I'm going to try it again in a different way because guess what? Now I have feedback. Feedback is actually direction. I have a direction in which I'm headed because X didn't work, so I'm going to try Y. If Y doesn't work, then I'm going to try Z. Right? And by the time I get to Z, I have the experience of X and I have the experience of Y. And I'm able to understand and realign and readjust as necessary. And failure, this is something I also teach in my academy, is the anti-failure model. If you can approach every single thing in your life as neutral, or if you can take every single bit of feedback that you get back as neutral, and if you don't attach meaning, or at least you don't attach meaning in terms of what you're making it mean about you, I promise you, you're going to learn so many more lessons and get out of shaming and guilting yourself over and over and over, which leads to nothing productive, nothing good, nothing healthy, nothing that's good for your body, nothing that's good for your soul. So many of the coaches that I see make a mistake or they fall flat on their face and they make it 10 times more what it needs to be. And then they spend the next several weeks or even months and sometimes even years guilting themselves and shaming themselves and building this big guilt, shame puddle that they just uncover themselves into and burrow a little hole. And then they just stop. They just stop. The entrepreneurs that grow the fastest and get the most results are the ones that are the most okay with making the most mistakes. I felt so resilient to a point where it was almost naivety in the first couple months in my business because I was just so okay with trying a billion different things and not attaching it to anything. People told me the first year in business was going to be so hard and so terrifying and so much work. And I just chose not to believe that story. I chose not to take that on. I chose to say, I'm just going to have fun with it. I get to redefine the way that I'm approaching business, and it gets to just be okay. One of my clients, she lives in Panama. And she was told when she was first starting her business that she wasn't going to make it, that people in Panama didn't invest that kind of money in themselves. And when she said, well, my coach, Tiffany, she hit 6 figures in 8 months. I can do that too. And someone shut her down to her face and said, well, she lives in California. She lives in the States. She lives in the Bay Area, right? They do that kind of thing out there. They invest in themselves out there, but not you, not here. And this client of mine, she said, no. She said, nope, fuck that. I am not taking that person's story on. This person's story of failure, of probably personal failure that they are projecting onto my client, she's not taking that on. She said, no. That is not my story. That does not get to be my story because I am not making it my story. I'm not making it my story. This is not where my story ends. This is not where my story ends, working a corporate job that I hate showing up to every single day when I know that I can be a brilliant business owner and help serve others. This is not where my story ends. And so she rewrote that story that someone tried to throw onto her, tried to slap into her face. And guess what? Now, she's booking 4-figure clients. Her business is booming. She is booking out her programs and she gets to say, I did it. I did it because it was something that she felt aligned to and because she did not allow that woman to project her fears and her failures onto her. She said no. So I want you to think about all of the voices in your head, all of the things that you've told yourself, all of the hesitations, all of the resistance that you're feeling around sharing specific topics, sharing your story, taking a stance on specific issues, social justice issues, specific causes that you support, maybe anything that comes to mind, okay? We are very dynamic human beings, and we are here to take a stance. We're not here to be, neutral human beings just floating around and existing. We are here to live. We are here to live our lives. And regardless, if you post one thing, it might affect one group of people. If you post another, it might offend another group of people, right? And this is not in any way, I am not talking about cultural appropriation. I am not talking about racism. I am not talking about discrimination. That is not tolerated under any circumstances ever, 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 ever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you taking a stance on the way that you show up in your business, a method that you created that you really enjoy. I'm talking about the way that you've trialed and errored something and maybe how it worked out for you and what you enjoyed about it, right? I'm talking about you standing so true in your story and in your power and in your stance of the health issues that you've experienced and what you did to cure yourself. Right? I'm talking about the way that you're showing up and sharing a story about the abusive relationship that you survived. I'm talking about you showing up and sharing the thing that you've always wanted to share, but have never felt brave enough because you are so afraid of it being perceived in the wrong way. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the stories that we've kept silent and hidden for too long. And I'm also not saying that you need to share every single thing about yourself on social media, because that absolutely isn't the case. There are so many things that we want to keep private and keep to ourselves, such as our kids, private information, specific stories. Majority of our lives are not going to be shared on social media, and majority of our mistakes are also not going to be shared on social media. But I'm challenging and encouraging you to take a stance and share something that will allow your audience and your community to get to know you better. Who are you underneath edited photos or calculated captions and planned ahead, IGTV videos? Who are you underneath all of that? What do you stand for? What are your brand values? And how can you operate in integrity with those? A lot of people ask me how to show up professionally on social media. And I ask them, why the hell would you want to do that? Professionalism is created by people who have privilege. White, cis, heterosexual, white males that have money, that are wealthy or higher class, those are the people that created privilege and professionalism. And the way they view professionalism could be very, very, very different than you showing up in alignment with your brand values, which is what you get to do. You get to operate with ethical business values and systems. You get to show up and honor the values that you've created inside your business. And you get to show up every single day and love on your community. If something that you do is outside of the realm of professionalism, so be it. At the end of the day, you are not here to honor a system that was created by men for men years and years ago that is completely outdated and doesn't even include women, let alone women of color or people of color, for no reason. You are here to adhere to your brand values, to adhere to your mission, your purpose, what your spirit is calling you to do over and over and over again in this space. And I can bet that there are so many women that are holding back from sharing their true story and showing up online and showing up in this space because they're afraid. They're afraid of what people are going to say. They're afraid of what people are going to do. They're afraid of what people might whisper behind their backs. They're afraid of the people that might throw side eyes or send a post to their friends. They're afraid. And I can promise you that that's a very valid and human response. But there are so many more people, I promise you, so many more people that need to hear your story, because it just takes one person's life to be changed, one person to say, hey, you shifted my perspective on this. You changed the way that I viewed this in order for you, in order for them, in order for a vibration in the world to rise, even if it's just by a couple of centimeters, right? Even if it's just a baby step of a share, it rises. It rises. And when you show up in alignment and you say yes to the calling and you say yes to what you're meant to do, what you're meant to create, what you're meant to design, what you're meant to launch and offer, everybody around you, their spirit feels drawn to you, because it's in alignment for them too. Even if they don't know it, even if they don't understand it, even if they don't even know what the thing is that you're offering. I had a client that put out a program that she created last minute, no weeks and weeks of content ramping up, no perfectly put together sales page. She told me on our client call, oh my God, Tiffany, I totally forgot to add testimonials and the outline of the program on my sales page. And guess what? 40 plus people signed up within days. Within days. She only has a couple hundred people in her audience. But guess what? She showed up and said yes to something that was so in alignment for her. She actually scrapped a plan that she was creating for a much bigger launch and pushed that to the side and said, no, this needs to be created now. That is the power. That is the power of showing up in alignment and in integrity to your values and who you are as a human being. Every single thing we do is going to be appearing as triggering or giving somebody, it might give someone a bit of a raised eyebrow. There's no way we're going to please every single person around us. But we can do our best. We can be inclusive human beings. We can educate ourselves on issues that are happening around the world and to minority groups and marginalized communities. We can do our best to show up in integrity in our business and love on our community that needs to hear the loving words, the guiding words, the empowering words from us. This is just a couple of the ways that you can show up in your life and in your business more in integrity. And I truly think that we need more coaches, more mentors, more guides, more course creators showing up as humans. We don't need more strategies. We don't need more and more and more things to follow and make us feel limited. We need coaches. We need humans showing up as humans. If you resonated with this, I am breaking down this and so much more in the academy that I'm launching in August. I am so excited about it. I have poured so much into this academy that I'm co-creating with the universe and that I'm channeling from the universe. You are not just building out your next offer or your very first offer. You are infusing it with everything that you are in alignment to you, using your human design, using your unique gifts and abilities, doing the inner work to uncover the most genuine and authentic version of you and allowing that to lead you. I'm so excited about this. And if this is giving you the warm and fuzzies, I'm going to leave the waitlist link inside the show notes, as well as in the link in my bio on Instagram at tiffanychung.co. So you will be the first to be notified when the Academy launches in mid-August. And until the next episode, I will catch you very soon.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe. If this episode resonated with you, please take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, and tag me at tiffanychung.co. I truly appreciate interacting with every one of you. Catch you all on the next one.